shades, letting her go, letting her rip, letting her fly, tossing her in sideways, living the life, letting her ride, outside, winning to die, cross her up on the cushion, crossing the line, cause some drama and some bullshit they didn't like, and if they don't like the move, then we're ready to fly. But this is how we ride, this is how we do, riding mud, sliding up higher in the groove, don't give a damn about the cash we're spending, with the time we got we choose, to play it on the go, to stay out on the run, we all high, wild and handsome, ain't telling you what's right or wrong, or what to choose, hey, but this is how we do. This is how we do.
Well, hello. Oh my. Oh. We are here. We are a little bit, for some reason, digitized. You see a little bit of a lag in the camera, but hey, we got to roll with it. This is what we got. We are here back in the U.S. I know this is going to drive some people crazy, but it is not the connection. It is this camera. But I mean, I guess when you drag a camera all over the world, it may have a little dings in it, or maybe just needs to get warmed up. Just like we are today, getting a little bit warmed up with our return show here to the studio. Just getting in a couple days ago, heading right down to I-55 the following. Kind of using yesterday to kind of catch back up, get back into this area, get back to the studio. And now we are here today, of course, also watching the high limit racing event at RPM Speedway on Flow last night, like I think a lot of people did. And you may see a little additions. We got the little Chaz Australian Tour wing over there. We got some Pearl Harbor memorabilia. Sorry about that. Just maybe it's not just me that's a little off right now. We got some new stickers. You got the Sydney International Speedway media credential there. You got some flight tickets over here off to the side. We got a lot of stuff that we're going to be adding as we continuously unpack and get things going here. Want to give a big shout out to everybody. Of course, we're wearing a Williamson race team crew shirt, which was bestowed upon me by Jack Williamson and everybody over there with that crew. Racer over there in the Perth area. Was really fun to catch up with those guys while we were there in town. Perth, Australia, amazing. Obviously, I would say Perth Motorplex probably, you know, if I was to go back to Australia, I wouldn't mind basing everything I have to do over there in WA. I mean, what Perth Motorplex has is just top level, top notch. I mean, there's other places trying to do what they can do, have a very similar level of a quality and facility like Sydney does. But as far as all hitting on all cylinders and having everything go the right direction right now, I don't know if you can beat what Perth Motorplex has going on, possibly within the world, not just in Australia, but what they have going there, the scene, the attention, the TV. I know I wanted to do some talk shows here recently, hearing some of these other people on their YouTubes and social media talking about how TV and sprint car racing don't go together. And you got a situation there in Perth Motorplex where they're on TV. They're right there getting promoted by AFL, their National Football League over there for the Australian world. And TV and them seem to work perfectly fine. But it's a whole nother level of what you think it should become. You know, we're going to be talking about that today, but want to give a big shout out to everybody who helped the Australia situation continue and stay as long as it did. Almost got past the 3 months. We did not. But you should see most of the people's names who helped out up here at the top right of the screen. If not, they will be coming soon. We still have tons of content to put out from our trip over there. Real good race night from Sydney International Speedway, actually, where that was used. That's going to be put out this week as they got their upcoming race this weekend. And then some other situations as well from Lismore with Libby Racing. We got our Gladstone stuff. We got stuff with Jai Corbett in his shop. And then the final weekend there at Perth Motorplex for their sprint car grand final that they had as well. So lots of good content coming up here very soon around a few different drivers. Like I said Jai Corbett. You got Chris Coyle. You got a couple of other guys that are going to be featured as well. So stay tuned here on the channel. Be sure to subscribe so you can stay tuned and get notifications when those episodes or shows do come out and get up here onto the YouTube channel. Now, there's a lot of things to possibly talk about Today, we're going to try to stay on point. We are planning, if we can squeeze it in, to have some live call-ins still here on the show. I had to kind of reset what number you're going to have to call and everything like that, because it had been so long since we had basically been around a internet connection that was allowing live call-ins to be obtained, and the time frame to be acquired as well. Obviously, time shifts and being off a little bit from Australia to America made the call-ins a little bit more difficult than you would have thought to have. But anyways, this weekend that we just went through here in the American racing scene. Also want to give a big shout out to Jack Dover for this Australian trip. Jack Dover was nice enough to, yes, the Jack Dover. I know it's weird. Why would he know this guy? But he did offer to have a spot to park the car, the Chaz Mobile, as some people have called it over the last few years, 440,000 miles on it. Unfortunately, though, upon returning and driving the car back here to the central Iowa area, we have had some or discovered some pretty harsh mechanical issues on the vehicle. So we got to be working on that as well. But still, regardless, big shout out to Jack Dover for being willing to house the Chaz car while I was away. Imagine the bill it would have took to park at the damn airport for as long as we were gone would have probably cost 2 to 3 times as much as the car. We may have to pay for that, but now I'm just saying that was a really big deal. Regardless, this last weekend of racing that we had, and it's funny that the Chaz shows up right as this starts to take off, basically. This last week of racing that we had was the first time that I witnessed that we literally got to see what this 2 national series situation in the sprint car world was going to look like. Now, obviously, the 2 national series have been going, but racing against one another, they have not been doing that. This was the first weekend that we got to see both series racing on the same weekends in different regions of the country, which is going to start to become the norm. Now, what did we see in this? One thing that I pointed out in one of my last videos there before I left Australia that we saw was an increase, in my opinion, in overall 410 sprint car racing operations. I think it was 39 and 30 that they had down there at the Texas Motor Speedway RPM venture for high limit. I think it was floating around the 30 to 35 car mark, 40 maybe, I think, World of Outlaws, something like that. But we're talking about, 60-ish, 70-ish racing teams in 2 areas that most people wouldn't consider, high car counts for 410 sprint car racing. Keep in mind, we still had California, teams that weren't around. PA was still going and racing. So you're talking about an increase in 410 sprint car teams that I don't think we've seen before, because it's starting to become logical to have a 410 sprint car laying around. I've been talking to people about going to PA this year, and one of the main reasons outside this new car issue problem, one of the main reasons I was debating on if that was a smart move or not is, traditionally, if you wanted to view high-level sprint car racing almost, every other week, you would have to go to PA, because they would either have an all-star race in there, a World Outlaw race in there. Their weekly programs are very strong. Their stars are very strong. Some would debate that this year. But that was where you went. If you went anywhere else, you were in California watching NARC until Outlaws came through, or if you were in the Midwest, you were at Knoxville or Huset's or something like that. You really didn't get a taste of 410 racing action outside of that. Maybe IRA, but it seems like nobody put no respect on IRA. Look what Bill Baylog's doing, and it's shocking everybody. We're going to get into talking about that a little bit as well. But this year, however, with these 2 national series happening, you got a situation, for instance, like where I'm at here in the Midwest, 20 minutes away from Knoxville, where it used to be Knoxville, big thing every week, Huset's on Sunday, and then you have, World of Outlaw swing will come through spring, last few years spring, then we go back to just Knoxville and Huset's racing, and then you would have now Huset's started up their High Bank Nationals. There's a swing for the Outlaws. You'll have them in the region, maybe the North Dakotas, if you wanted to drive 8-9 hours away, that's how far it is, 10 hours away to get up to River Cities and some of those places where the Outlaws would go. And then you would have to wait again, then Knoxville, and then after Knoxville, it's pretty much over, for premier racing, for national leveled racing. But with this year now, with the High Limit series, it seems like you're going to have a situation, especially here in the Midwest, where you're going to have the World Outlaws come through, which they will be in Knoxville next weekend. And then once they have their little swing through the Midwest or whatever, you'll have High Limit coming and swinging through the Midwest. And so there will always be a constant flow of national sprint car racing, for instance, in the Midwest. I think you somewhat got a taste of that in the South this year. Obviously, guys like Nathan Moore and Will Eggman putting on, 410 sprint car racing down the South over the last 10 years without really too much coming back at them, as far as national prowess, getting that scene to where it's even at to have the amount of cars they had down there, deserves a little respect. So put some respect on guys like Nathan Moore, who started with the non-wing stuff, and then Will Eggman and some other guys who got the wing stuff going down there for 410 racing. But with this new implement of the High Limit Racing Series, you're going to have high-paying 410 sprint car racing in the Midwest and in this area, general vicinity, almost just as often as you're going to have it happen over in Pennsylvania now. Because, once again, the swings are going to be kind of back and forth. So it's a very interesting situation, even though this High Limit and versus World Outlaw thing is happening. I do see that the double-edged sword to this scenario that is positive for everyone, I think, is there seems to be more of an influx in 410 sprint car racing. Now, obviously, 360 sprint car racing might be the casualty in all this, which, once you start costing just as much as a premium 410 for a premium 360, you already daggered yourself in the back. And if 305s, you start going up there and playing around, you'll be out too. But I'm just saying, seems like there's a notion, I've been saying this, that people just want 410s and 305s, a beginner division that you can get into and start and get going in sprint car racing, and then all you need is a 410 to transfer up into. The 360 used to be this bridge that 305s used to be, they used to be in that 305 category as far as cost and operational and experience, but back to the whole issue with 360 to begin with. So it does seem like that's where the whole kind of wave is pushing towards, kind of a get rid of 360s, 410s, 305s regionally and stuff like that. And with this combination of High Limit and World Outlaws bringing national level sprint car racing to regions on a more consistent basis, makes more sense to have a 410 sprint car laying around now. And you can travel a little bit in your region and race for really good money more often. So that's the double-edged sword here, is seems like to me, a rise in people racing 410 sprint cars. And that's the best thing that we could have about it. But as far as this split is concerned, Friday, we're talking about crowds yesterday on our Facebook. We're going to be getting to crowds here in just a little bit. But, Friday at I-55, decent crowd. Saturday, though, we'll just get right into it. We do have some stuff to put up on the screen. So, Saturday at High Limit, you had this situation at Texas Motor Speedway where they had a very good car count. This car count that they had was really, really stout. So Texas Motor Speedway, obviously, tandoing with the NASCAR weekend, this thing worked out to the point where, they didn't have an issue with cars. They didn't have an issue with getting drivers to show up. I believe it's 39. Big packed house. You see it here at Texas Motor Speedway. There really wasn't nothing bad. I was concerned with Texas Motor Speedway potentially having some track surface issues. It looked like, based on the replay of the racing events, that they overworked the track to make sure that they didn't sustain any of the issues that TMS has traditionally been having here in recent memory. But it was fairly successful, and this is a big deal for them because their championship, battle war is going to be faced on this racetrack on October 11th and 12th. So this was kind of the prelude to what fans can expect. And I think for them, nailed it, knocked it out of the park, not only in the track surface issues that I think a lot of people were concerned about, but also in the fans and even the race. You had a decent little race with Anthony Macri and, Tyler Courtney for the win. But you also had a situation that most people came away from like, what the hell was that? I've already had a few phone calls about it and said, Chaz, did you see what the hell happened? And that had to deal with this scenario. Hold on, let's get you a little bit bigger here on the screen. That had to do with this scenario with Wayne Johnson had a wreck, contact made with John Carney, where he got hit on the top side of the car and then came to a rest on the back straightaway. Now, some people were upset, and I even saw Dominic Selzy make a post, but some people were upset on how the fire safety crew acted in this scenario. I heard some people say they were just standing around and didn't really know what to do, and why did they not flip the car over? Not really saying there's a right or wrong thing here. I mean, MedStar is obviously one of the best safety crews, situations, labels, organizations, whatever you want to call MedStar, in dirt track racing. They've represented very well, went always above and beyond, and they've always been the benchmark of what most, fire safety crews at racing events look to be. Like I said, I heard people complaining about the time it took. It does look like potentially a little understaffed, especially for something like Texas Motor Speedway. With the situation, medics are on the scene now. Now that's where I want to point it out on why there might have been a delay on getting this car on all fours. So, I mean, this contact happens in this video at 10 seconds in, and there is a guy at the car at 27:30. So it took 20 seconds from the moment of contact for a guy to get to the car. I'd say from the moment of resting on the speedway, it looks like 13 to 30. So about 17, 18 seconds of resting before a car got to, or for a safety official got to the car. And I would assume, based on some of the injuries that we heard or are hearing that happened here, obviously Wayne Johnson, we're going to give you an update on him in just a second. At least from what we can tell you, a lot of people are saying, why didn't they do nothing to the car? Now, I'm hearing that potentially Wayne Johnson was alert. It looks like he definitely was. We saw him moving in the car when I was watching the video earlier. Not going to play it because Flo is such a but it sounds like he may have been vocal in some pain. Obviously, I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't a situation where Wayne Johnson was slightly concussed. I mean, we are in sprint cars running 120, 140 miles an hour, and maybe even off the corner, 80 to 100 miles an hour. This was a very fast track, a very fast 4/10. I mean, 2/5. Sorry, just had to make that joke. 4/10 is apparently a joke in the dirt racing world now because it's not a true measurement. It's 2/5. But honestly, maybe hurt, maybe concussed, maybe yelling, maybe saying definitely he's got some pain because what we're going to read to you doesn't sound good. And in most scenarios, when a driver is, expressing, discomfort to the level I believe he was, it's sometimes, they sometimes tell you to not move. Like if there was a potential back injury, which is what we've been experiencing in sprint car racing here for a while, you don't want to really move that car right off the jump without kind of getting secondary approval or figuring things out to its completion. Obviously, I don't see any fuel or fluids on the ground. Obviously, that would have been a big issue if we're talking about fire or something like that to initially get the car over as fast as possible. But I do know, just by dealing with safety officials, that if you get to a scene and a driver is expressing discomfort and maybe concussed or however he's feeling, like I said, I don't know. I ain't seen the conversation. I don't know if there was a GoPro that had the conversation here. But if the driver's feeling hurt and it's a sprint car, you don't know for sure what it is, you sometimes don't want to move the driver at all. You don't want to just flip that. We've all seen how these cars crash down when they do pull them back over and flop them onto the ground. And if a driver potentially has an issue with his back, a back injury, you don't want to just turn the car over. So it kind of made sense when I rewatched this. I saw everybody, complaining like, what are they doing? Why are they just staying there? You notice once the medics come over, which is the blue shirts, it seems like they kind of are getting word here from a fire safety official asking a question or two, because people are still waiting. This is a minute into official arriving before they actually flip this car over. So there is potentiality that the reason that delay took place was because of the potential back injuries that was sustained in the situation. And I think that's just the only explanation I can give you. If it was just because they're stupid, that is what it is. But I just don't think that MedStar's that stupid. Now, this is an update from Wayne Johnson's Facebook page. It says, "This is Sarah. He is home resting, or I believe that's what that is meant to be saying there, resting comfortably. It was a nasty wreck, but he is super fortunate. There's a 20 centimeter laceration on his right forearm that will require some surgery. It got into his muscles / tendons, and his hand isn't working. That's very sad to hear. Plan is to see a specialist Monday or Tuesday. Thanks for all the prayers. So that's kind of an update with the situation on Wayne Johnson. Obviously, like I said, I would assume if that was the case, when those safety officials arrived to the car, discomfort was probably there. Some kind of feeling of agony being expressed was probably there. And then how could you properly communicate if you're in that amount of pain? I think it might have been incurring. How could you properly communicate to safety officials, oh, my back's fine. Oh, I don't feel anything wrong with my back, especially apparently his hand wasn't working here. They were saying his hand still isn't working. Usually, those types of things can lead towards some kind of issue with the back. Potentially, your back kind of controls all your mechanics. So a lot of reasons that car might have not just got flipped over instantly, like I see a lot of people upset about. Now, some people may be upset about something else, but that's what I've heard the complaining be about, is how long it took for that car to come straight up or upright. So regardless, that's the situation with Wayne Johnson, and we will see. Now, we will say the guy who picked it up, the win, at the end of the day, Anthony Macri, who is definitely bouncing back strong here in 2024, especially after last year. The rekindling of the spirit of the 39M, and Anthony Macri seems to be hitting on more than just one cylinder, but all 8, and he is flying in the 39M car. He was, put on a pretty good show there with Tyler Courtney. It was back and forth, but you could kind of just tell that Anthony Macri was just a little bit better. On to Sunday, though. Saturday night, we had all this happen. Saturday night, you had, the giant crowds. You had Kyle Larson Racing. You had the Dirt Side Live with Kenny Wallace. Everything was just going amazingly. Just knocks it out of the park. 6-figure cash in, positive in the bank, potentially. I don't know. Big money made, I'm assuming. I believe Texas Motor Speedway holds around the 20,000 or 15,000 mark in their grandstands. It's a huge facility, amazing facility. So I'm assuming everybody made money on all ends of the books. Now, coming to Sunday night, however, they go over here to RPM Speedway. This is just a little clipping on their Facebook page. RPM Speedway, quarter-mile racetrack in Crandall, Texas. For those who want to know where Crandall, Texas, that's about a 20-minute drive. You could be in downtown Dallas and potentially to this track in about 30 minutes, maybe. You could be in some pretty big suburbs, Mesquite, Texas, which is where I'm originally out of, that whole area. Actually, this would be the closest track, I think, besides Devil's Bow now, to my old areas of being around. You could potentially be from Mesquite to this track in about 15-ish minutes, 18 minutes, I would say. And this track is a fast little quarter mile. I know some people watched it. And in my opinion, when I saw this on the schedule, I was like, this is going to be one of the best races in the world. You got Martin Edwards down there doing the dirt work. And the Edwards family, if you don't know who that is, those are the people who put the Chili Bowl track together and make it every year. And look how phenomenal that racing surface is. It's going to be hard to beat, how good those guys can do a racetrack. And especially Steve Neighbors taking over the facility, kind of, wheeling that deal all together. That's a really good group of guys down there that deserve a lot of respect for keeping that scene going. And then when they get a big event like this, should deserve the respect of the entire DFW racing scene to show up to the damn racetrack and support the event. Now, with that being said, before we get into the actual conversation I'm going to have around this whole ordeal, we have Corey Day. We'll start with a positive note. Corey Day, who picked up the win driving by Kerry Matson. Jacob Allen also involved in there. Anthony Macri was flirting with the lead. I think he led a lap, maybe. I'm not sure, but it was a Kerry Matson, Anthony Macri show, and then Corey Day did what Corey Day should do. I mean, there's a lot of tracks down there in Texas that are bull rings. A KSP where the Outlaws is a bull ring. I know they had a lot of issues that happened down there. KSP could put on just as good, if not better of a race than RPM. I'm not really trying to compare here because I think RPM is one of the best. But these are short little tracks. I've been trying to tell people those tracks down in Texas, we kind of got to experience it last night. The tracks down in Texas, the quarter miles, everything outside of Devil's Bow basically, is kind of like California track sizes with like PA kind of smoothness and slickness. So if you mix the two, you know, when I say that, I'm talking about like, you know, in PA you can get Port Royal to where it's slick in the middle and just up to the top cushion, and it's a mixture of finesse and a mixture of aggression. Same kind of deal here. You know, I don't think that track last night would have ever went rubbered down. These tracks in Texas, I don't know if it's because they're used to the heat and they have this heat cycle they go through every year, but it seems like most of the time the tracks down there can stay slick, widen out, and put on amazing racing, especially once again when you have the Edwards doing some of the track work. I did not get surprised when I saw Corey Day win this. Obviously, Kerry Matson with his Australian roots doing some down under racing this year, getting on the short tracks a little bit more. And obviously the experience behind him, I wasn't surprised to see him running well. Anthony Macri, you know, this track is kind of a little bit of a Lincoln, just a little bit smaller, but those tight kind of sharp slamming in their corners that Texas has everywhere you can go. That was kind of the situation. I don't know how many of y'all saw how hard you could slam it into 1 and 2 last night during qualifying. It was very exciting to watch. For me, especially being there, I've actually announced at that track, so it's a really good facility, and I was really looking forward to this, getting some speed, some 410 winged action on the Speedway. It was a really good racing facility race. Could it be better? I mean, I'm sure it could be, but as far as racing action on the track, I don't know how you could get any better. Yeah, there was some heat races where the leader just went away, but if you looked at those heat races as they were coming off of 4 to take the checkered, I mean, you had guys 3 wide, throwing sliders back and forth from that second to the rest of, or third back in the pack. I mean, it was good racing. I guarantee you, even though the race for the lead last night was kind of uneventful until Corey Day got up there and did what he did, there was people throughout that field battling back and forth. They just only had 2 cameras, and obviously you want to keep an eye out on the guy who's moving up through the field forward there. And that was Corey Day. About mid-race going forward, Corey Day just started, hey, this is like Placerville, but smooth and hooked up. And it has a wall. I'm just going to go up there and do some Placerville shit. And that's what he did. And I saw some California people say, hey, this RPM Speedway reminds me of a Placerville. That's a very good comparison. I would say it has a little bit longer of a straightaway. And once again, the wall maybe about the same as banking. So once I think Corey Day figured out what he could do with that race car and how he could run it, it was a whole nother lightning of aggression. It would have been really cool to see somebody else up there with Corey Day, and we could have had some sliders back and forth that you could really charge at that track. You can extremely, as we started to see there, charge 3 and 4 on the entry, and it would have been really cool to see some sliders back and forth. Also want to give a big shout out in this racing event to Chase Hatton for, I believe, picking up the win in the modifieds. Guy used to do some Inside the Dirt episodes with us here on the channel. If you go back into the YouTubes or the Facebooks, you look up Jason Ingalls, Chase Hatton, you know, a bunch of our old school films that we used to do around the modifieds of Texas and Louisiana and factory stocks. We did a bunch of actual behind the scenes content with Chase Hatton, your winner in the modifieds last night. So go check that out across the channel. So big shout out to him for getting it done. It's come a long way. That was a very stout modified field you saw last night. I don't know if anyone else knew that, but that was some pretty top talent in the state or in that region of the country. Now, on to the bad. A little bit. And Corey Day honestly messed up everything I wanted to talk about here. He honestly made me, I mean, we had this race at I-55 with the World of Outlaws, and, you know, they had a decent crowd Friday. They packed the place out Saturday. It was insane. And we got this Outlaw versus High Limit deal, and everybody's saying this High Limit roster. I had a big argument on Twitter with some Corey LaJoy fan page or something about how the Outlaws roster is, you know, I personally think a little bit stronger right now. And then, the depth, the guy was the depth. You got to be kidding me. Look at the depth. They got the champion, blah, 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 blah. And I was sitting there watching this main last night when Kerry Matson and Macri were out front. And the only High Limit driver that was near him was Jacob Allen. No disrespect to Toucan Sam, but the closest High Limit driver was Jacob Allen to some ringers who are racing at a track no one's ever been to, basically. And you had the previous night where Tyler Courtney got handled by Anthony Macri at a track I think neither one of them have been at before. And we were about to have 2 races back to back with the High Limit Racing Series when they were on their Up Against the Outlaw weekend, where the High Limit roster can't even win their own damn races. We were a Corey Day figuring out this is Placerville with a cushion and a wall away from High Limit's opening weekend not even being won or challenged. Well, I guess not even being won by a High Limit Racing driver. Now, anybody who wants to debate rosters, and keep in mind, this wasn't Pennsylvania where Macri was doing this. This was down in Texas. Okay? So anybody who wants, I think almost the question of who has the stronger roster is almost answered right now. High Limit Racing almost, without Corey Day doing some Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell style, without him just figuring it out, High Limit was about to go 0-2 against Kerry Madsen and Anthony Macri. Now, no disrespect to Kerry Madsen and Anthony Macri, but I just don't see a scenario where you roll out the roster of the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series on any damn racetrack out there on a two-night race weekend outside of maybe Pennsylvania against maybe their local guys, and they get swept. Most of the time when a new series, when the Outlaws go to a new track and it's a new area and all that, the Outlaws absolutely dominate because they got the smartest people in the world crewing those cars and the best drivers to get in them. So that would be, like I said, Corey Day messed this whole point up because he came up in there and won as a high limit driver. But luckily, guys, High Limit was about to get swept by Anthony Macri and Kerry Madsen in a put-together car with the 25. Not a put-together car, but a put-together a pairing here recently with the 25 car. Very strong car, very strong driver. I'm just saying, you ain't doing that shit to the World of Outlaws. You ain't doing it. And anyone out there saying you can, you're just wrong. I ain't seen it. Like I said, maybe PA. Maybe. But random tracks, Texas Motor Speedway debut, new, RPM new, you go in there with the damn roster of the Sheldons and the Shoeharts and the Gravels and Macedos and the Shotzes and the Salesies, buddy. You ain't just going to keep them off of the winning victory lane. 2 nights? That ain't going to happen. That roster's too strong for you to do that. The World of Outlaws are just that damn good. So this debate on which roster is better is, in my opinion, pretty much done now. Pretty much done. You can't say what just happened to the Outlaws. You can't say that. I don't think you could say that. I don't think you could dream a scenario where you go to a new area, you throw Kerry Madsen and Anthony Macri out there against the Outlaws, and Anthony Macri is going to sweep the weekend. Now, Anthony Macri is really good. I'm not saying it can't ever happen. It's just hard to imagine. Because that's what the World of Outlaws do. And this is what High Limit just did. Now, once again, Corey Day did some stuff that, came out of the woodworks and figured her out and got her done. But to me, this said a lot. 12 to go. Actually, what was it? 6 to go when Madsen hit the tire or actually hit a rut. A lot of people want me to sit here and bash Chase Rodman for being a horrible announcer. I'm not doing that. I respect Chase Rodman. It's a new guy. They're going to throw in another announcer. I think they said Dylan Welch is going to join them here. I think a 2-person announcer group is the only way you're going to maybe keep up with Johnny Gibson. The single man thing is for local racetracks and World Outlaws. And once Johnny Gibson is gone one day, I think they're going to have to bring in 2 or maybe 3 or 4 or 5 people to compete or compare to Johnny Gibson. So I'm not going to sit here and bash Chase Rodman, but in the same light, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I don't know how this is even fathomable. But regardless, I did lose my point there as I was talking about Chase Rodman. But I just, once I said that, I know people want me to I'm just not bashing him. I'm sure y'all get my point here. I'm going to go to the next subject. My next point on the subject was, even though we had this race at RPM Speedway, this amazing action-packed race, potentially trying to be the World of Outlaws or equal to the World of Outlaws. You had an issue in the grandstands here at RPM Speedway, which I became offended about. The grandstands were not good. The grandstands were not great. And I hear a lot of people giving me reasons as to why, but we're going to talk about those reasons. And we wanted to talk about those reasons, so we put a Facebook page or a Facebook post up on my personal Facebook page here, and I said the crowd at RPM is wow small for high limit racing. Hopefully looking to get some questions as to why, because obviously I got a lot of friends that will be seeing this post, so I guess I'll get a response from the thousands or so Texas people that are in the DFW area as to why y'all didn't go. Why did y'all not go to this? So we got a lot of questions answered technically in this. There's a lot of people saying you could buy a yearly subscription on Flow for what it costs to get into the stands or get a family into the stands. This is Texas. What do you expect? Should have said finned buggies and they would have come running. But what do I know? I moved out. They're chasing things. Let's see here. A bunch of people. This guy said Landon had 5 people with him. They came to the house to watch it on Flow. Landon did have a comment in here. I'm not sure if it's still in here. It looks like it took it down. Landon actually came in here and talked about he showed up to the racetrack. When he learned it was $40 to enter the race, he exited the facility, did not pay to get in, went home, bought Flow Racing, and watched the race on TV with his family. That's what somebody had posted in here. That's why that one guy said Landon had 5 people with him. Crowds are smaller this time of the year. It's a lot changed in 40 years in Texas. I think they were expecting to pull a crowd from the NASCAR race today. Didn't happen. Somebody said Sunday. Due to cost to get in, it was the main thing. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons it was Sunday. A lot of people are saying it's the money, the admission to get in, and that it was Sunday in Texas. And then down here, one of the promoters of the DFW area chimed in and said, Doug Rollo, who's promoted racing down there for as long as you can think of. It saddens me to see a low fan count. All I know is that if we do not support this kind of special event show, there will be no need for Flow Racing or any of the others because tracks cannot afford to host them. Now, apparently this show was a little bit different on the setup. I think the track did get something in the streaming aspect of things, which is a big deal because obviously Sunday night, nobody else is racing. Everybody's watching. And it was a new track, a lot of intrigue, things of that sort. Now, there was some people who came in here a little bit mad that I even put a post up, which is insane. That they said that this post, me saying, pointing out this crowd at RPM, pointing out the obvious, what's the deal, basically trying to get some responses. You had Jason Finley, who is the Finley Farms of Kyle Larson, come in here and say, and you wonder why you get no media credentials. And obviously it was liked by Jay Baxter and Shane Stewart. So we got the clique involved. I said, exactly. I don't suck it. I speak freely. To me, it's an amazing trade. Keep your free pit pass, which is basically what a media credential is. A simple post like this restricts my ability to get media credentials. They can keep their egotistical, power-tripping based credentials to themselves. No respect for the Constitution deserves no respect for me. This other guy said, Chaz, media's propaganda. You might be the Alex Jones of racing, but look what they did do to him and everyone else like him. That's the price you pay for free speech. You're finding it out. It ain't free. And then I came in here. I mean, I still don't get that reference, but that's fine if people want to hate. I said, I honestly don't see the Alex Jones reference here. My intent is from the Doug Rollo perspective. I have an issue with one of the biggest series out there at an action-packed track not being able to pull a crowd. The intent of this post is to get the conversation going on what caused it to happen, which we got some answers, obviously, just read them out. For this type of post, and this is a very interesting point, for this type of post to pose any threat to acquiring media credentials to racing events is not a matter of disrespect. In that case, it comes across as a matter of shameful egos that don't want to think of the problems at hand and figure them out. That's my point. There's nothing about this post or its content that wasn't explanatory except this comment here, which is why I'm addressing it. It is a huge I had a typo there. I should have said it is a huge issue. I put it is. I'm getting all ghetto. It is a huge issue in the racing scene and needs to be talked about. But anyway, that's pretty much what these posts are about. I know, like I said, it seems to be ego when you can't sit here and ask or put a post up recognizing the obvious, which the crowd at RPM, it was wow small. I'm sure a lot of people saw these drone pictures. So I don't understand why these types of conversations are so offensive. And the only way they are is, like I said, shameful egos who just don't want to acknowledge the obvious and let's figure out why it happened. Now, all these damn reasons, in my opinion, as to why the RPM Speedway crowd was small, this $40 shit, and this Sunday, and it's Texas, is the exact same reasons why Finley Farm should be on other race cars. Because we have a big problem. This is a huge problem. What just happened there was the exaggerated example, actually the realistic example. I'm giving you not even exaggeration. The thing that happened there at RPM Speedway last night is the realistic example as to the problem with this sport. We don't have any fucking stars, guys. We're putting money into some stars that you think are cool because they graduated high school kiddie league and went to NASCAR. You're not putting money or investments into making stars. You're 35 maybe minutes from 2.6 million people, and you can't get 2,000 of them. As the biggest dirt series in the world. You're trying to be, right? You're second. Well, let's just say World of Outlaws is 1A. You're fucking 1B. I've done the stats of that area. I think it's 8.6 million between Fort Worth and Dallas. You got 2.6. I think it's a low number. I could go out and get the damn statistics right now, but I think it's 2.6 million people, and you can't get 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. You can't. It ain't standing room only. Why? You got the best damn drivers in the world. And the most difficult race cars there are to ever drive. Why is that? Oh, because they don't know any better. Because they don't know any better. But that's your big problem right there. Why do you have 2.6 million and you can't get 0.00001% of them to attend this amazing event at this amazing racetrack? Because you don't have any fucking stars that the world knows about. This is why sometimes I do come across disrespectful, and we might be just a little bit because of Finley's comment, because he supports the problem. Living in the shadow of fame. That's what it is, living in the shadow of fame. You're all second fiddle behind the one star that runs it all. But at the end of the day, this is the big problem. And then outside of no actual stars, this is why I say almost disrespectful. Some people think they're really big in the sprint car thing. But like Chad Cox said, what did he say? Might as well called it, where's it at? Let's get to the smart comment of the situation. I think he called it finned buggies. Might as well called it finned buggies. Where's it at? Maybe he deleted it as we were talking. No. Might as well called it finned buggies because of the relevance of buggies and fins. They might have think they was coming to see some kind of shark potentially, some kind of animal exhibit show. That would have got someone to show up for $40. And oh my God, this is the other. Once again, you're not as big as you think you are. That's a big problem. Been trying to say that. You got other issues as to why you're not, because Kinzer and Swindell used to be that big. You're not. But anyway, sprint cars ain't good for TV. NASCAR is anyway. 4 hours of boredom versus 4 hours of, heat races and short attention span based events like heat races and dashes and all this stuff and 30-lap main events. That won't work for society. No. 4 hour boring races that needs cautions to even split them up as the winner. That's fine. Be an idiot. But anyway, not only is this disgustingness, and it's not RPM Speedway's fault. It's not High Limit's fault. There's some people who are responsible. Honestly, that this guy might be it. The ones who support the manipulation, in my opinion. But another person or a group to blame for this disgusting act that is happening on our sport that no one seems to care about in this scenario. You fucking fans are unbelievable sometimes. Now I know it's $40 fucking dollars, so I'm getting mad. The F words are falling. I know it's $40. I know the world's coming to an end. $40. But I'll tell you what. If one of you sumbitches would have if one of you single sumbitches out there would go to dirt tracks, because once you get wiped up, we don't see you anymore. If you would have swiped right on a girl on a Tinder date, you would have went to a damn movie theater and a dinner that would have cost you $250 or $3. And at the same damn time, $40, guys. The best race car drivers in the world at that action-packed racetrack is down the road ain't worth $40. So how can I sit here and be mad at the world for not respecting our own damn sport when you don't either? Not worth $40. $75 to park to watch the Dallas Cowboys. To park. But that's why I say it goes back to status, what people respect, what's cool. Is it cool to say I went to the dirt track? Some of you feel embarrassed. But that's back to the manipulational ploy on society that I've been trying to talk about for 6 years that no one cares. I guess you just keep getting these examples and saying it's okay. We're trying. We're doing what we can. Fuck it. Let's not attack the root of the cause. Let's just pick some leaves. You got the F1 of dirt down the street from 2.6 million people. Hold on, let me make sure. Let me, man, I know I did not mean to spur off. Population of Dallas, Texas. 1.3 million. 1.3. Was off. 2.6. I thought it was 2.6. It must be a DFW that's a little. Fort Worth. Thought it was. Let's see here. Real quick. A little bit of 7.64 million. Wasn't too far off there. I think I said 8. So that's how many people are in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, which this occurred 30 minutes away from Dallas and probably 45 to an hour away from Fort Worth. Now, obviously, there was a race at Texas Motor Speedway. But there's a lot of people out there who think NASCAR is boring. And there's a lot of people out there that you could sell this dirt racing thing on based on them thinking NASCAR is boring. Here's something different. Here's something new, fast, exciting. No, they're not high school level drivers. Just because Larson and them came from a sprint car at 14, don't mean these are the failed drivers of the racing world driving these, caskets with wings. No, there's ways to appeal to 7.4 million to get that 0.00001%. Or the 1.3 million. What do we need to do percentages on what 2,000 or 3,000 is to 1.3 million? That wasn't even counting the suburbs. This kind of is, I think, the Metroplex. I should have put Dallas Metroplex because it's pretty big. You got a lot of suburbs around there with a lot of people. So anyway, once again, how could I blame society when the fans don't even respect the damn sport? Saying $40 is too much. Oh my. Got a fan base issue. Oh, why is that? Oh, interesting. Just interesting. But you don't want to expand, that's fine. These are the problems here. These are the real issues. If the fan base you got right now ain't supporting you, ain't seeing you as worth $40 for the best that you got to offer, maybe you need to get some, oh my God, ever heard of them? New fans that ain't ever heard of you before. Oh my God, that's too scary. Don't go outside from the wooded areas to the world. Anyway, let's continue. I do have a critique for High Limit. This is something I think could be better for World of Outlaws and High Limit, and that is how they handle this dash situation. Now, a lot of people Me, at least, I think this wheel is stupid. I think it's dumb. I think it's a gimmick. It is what it is. They're just trying to spice up the redraw style thing for the dash. Now, here's the deal. Neither one are good. Neither is drawing a pill out of a giant NOS can full of that Cyclomalda, which or whatever that B12 supplement is that comes from sewage waste treatment plants, whatever that is. That's why I don't drink that anymore. But besides drawing from a sewage treatment plant can, and then spinning a giant wheel because roulette and high limit, I don't think either one of these are bad, but here would be my suggestion. Maybe to help the show go around. Usually this happens after the support classes run their heat races. You usually open the show with World of Outlaw or high limit sprint car heat races. Then you have the support class run their heat races. And then you come out here and you draw. And then you have somewhat of a little break or something. And then you have the dash come on. And then followed by the B main. Here would be my suggestion to changing this up. Usually after this is like a slight intermission. That's usually what happens. Here's my suggestion for both the World of Outlaws and the High Limit Sprint Car Series. Trying to be critiquish now, outside of, the root issues that you're never going to address. That I just have to sit here and bitch about. But I think that when you do these dash draws or spin of the wheel, that you should roll the cars out that are in the dash, line them up, space them out, stance them a little bit. Maybe I'm not taking a page on anyone's book, but in Australia they had a lot of prestige around the racing that every time it hit the track it was a thing. Maybe put the dash cars on the track somewhere, side by side, gridded, who cares, prior to doing the dash draw or the spin the wheel. That way, after a driver comes up here and spins a wheel or whatever, or draws a number, they walk directly to the car and get into the car, and the dash pushes off, and we do the dash right then and there. That way, you kind of are working on the first little baby step to promoting cars and stars outside of little Facebook and YouTube videos. You identify, or the fans in person can instantly identify a car with a driver. Because that happens a lot where there's a lot of outlaw or sprint car drivers. No one even knows what they look like. They know what the number and the color of the car goes around and what it looks like. But most of the time, the facial recognitions of the driver and the car are kind of missing a little bit. It's getting better here recently with the big video boards and the streaming and all that. But I still think that you could pull this off to where you're doing these spinning of the wheels and these dash draws, and you're instantly letting the crowd see your driver connect with that car that goes out there and then steps in that vehicle, straps in, and then gets pushed off to race in the event or in the race that they just saw the event get drawn or lined up for. I think that would be a really great spin to both the World of Outlaws and High Limit scenarios with this dash draw and this spin of the wheel deal that everyone seems to hate and is trying to figure out to make better. I just think you need to connect a race with this, and I think that would work very well, because say then you do that, you do the dash, then you have your intermission, then the first race out on the track is your B main, and then you have your support A main, and then you have your A main. So the mains are on the back end of your break. So it works in both ways as far as format for the event, as well as promoting the driver, matching the car, because the fans get to see that person go directly to the vehicle. And it also keeps the action kind of still going and connects that draw or that spin of the wheel with an event right behind it. Anyways, that would be my only little bitty suggestion just a little bit. Now, we did have some stuff happen with the World of Outlaws. I know we're getting into it here. Just a little bit, but do we want to go into the chat? Is there anything to talk about in the chat? We have the World of Outlaws we're about to talk about. No go for that. Oh, okay. No, we'll wait. We'll keep going down the line. We're already 50 minutes into this thing. We may not be doing the live call-ins. We may be doing the live chats. We're not trying to keep this going all night long. So we are switching over to the World of Outlaws. We did look at that ugly son of a bitch. We did go to the World of Outlaws I-55 event. We have this little video out with Let It Off, actually, with Bobby Johnson there, as we did a little tour of all the T-shirts that the new drivers have that are out. Of course, we started here, went to all the trailers. We halfway skipped over the Donnie Schatz situation because I hear that their camp is very mad at me for not liking their new paint scheme, and that is fine. But anyway, go check that out. It is on the YouTube channel right now. And then into the race we go. I think, well, this is kind of my test for 2024. I'm going to try to play a few snippets of the World Outlaw event. Sometimes they take them away and shut them down and flag them. Actually, I don't think I've had that happen with Dirt Vision. Flow Racing does it all the time. That's why I only showed images earlier. But we're going to try to play a little bit of this because Donnie Schatz is back in it, and Donnie Schatz is looking stout. So is Bill Baylog. Bill Baylog is looking very stout. I think that's probably the most shocking driver of the year outside of Landon Crawley's time trial efforts. We do have an interview coming with Landon Crawley and Father Tim Crawley onto the channel very soon, so be sure to subscribe as well so you can be ready for that. But you had Bill Baylog get out to the early lead, make a few mistakes, and that's all it takes. And Donnie Schatz gets on by and does some Donnie Schatz stuff that we ain't seen in a while. For performance, no matter how ugly that car is, no matter how much, they just want a blue vehicle go around the track and don't have any respect to give Donnie Schatz a great paint scheme that is valuable to a 10-time, I think potentially 11-time champion. Donnie Schatz, performance-wise, is blowing a lot of minds away right now. He looks right back. Not mine. I picked him at the beginning of the year. I was like, maybe Schatz has something for him here. But I think it is blowing some people's minds as to how well Donnie Schatz is doing this year. And he is starting to float the middle. When Donnie Schatz starts to float the middle of a racetrack, and not here, but I saw it at a previous couple races, when Donnie Schatz starts to float the middle of a dry slick racetrack and starts to pull and pass cars, that's old Donnie Schatz. That's what Donnie Schatz used to do. When that track widened out and guys were on the top and the bottom, somehow Donnie Schatz just found this line smooth through the middle and put it on their ass. And I've seen that drive this year. He's always moving forward. You had a little bit of a battle between Macedo and Baylog, but the battle that turned a little south was this one right here between Kofoid and Gravel. This was for the third spot, and it got hectic. Now, I've heard a lot of people say, Kofoid's got to get rid of some of those midget driving tactics. I've heard them say. Kofoid's got to get rid of some of those midget driving tactics to get used to the World Outlaw Tour and to get that, general racing attitude in shape. Just because a situation like this is just how midget racing happens. And I don't think Kofoid technically meant to do this. I don't think he meant to make it that close. I think he committed to this move about right here on the racetrack, and then he, had a little mistake there, and that killed the momentum to not be able to clear the slider correctly. Luckily enough, David Gravel's a hell of a race car driver and just saw it wasn't going to happen. He gets on the binders quick enough, and luckily for him, doesn't get up into the wall a little harder and go on its lid. Kofoid was very, very apologetic in the post-race interview, though. Very kind of sad, doesn't mean to race like that. Actually came across as very sincere, unlike some of these midget people do. But Kofoid seemed very sincere, upset with himself that he got into Gravel the way he did. Gravel was able to keep going, keep racing back, Selzy up in there. But at the end of the day, no one had anything for Donnie Schatz. Schatz is just looking like old Donnie once again, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what is going to happen with the paint scheme. Maybe that'll be fixed by the end of the year. But if not, it is what it is. It's okay. It's fine. And you see Gravel almost got back to Kofoid. So Gravel with a little attitude might be good there. You see Schatz, Macedo, Kofoid, Gravel, Baylog. I almost said Baloo. Although Baloo apparently jumped out of his car and tried to attack a tow truck. So I don't know, or a tow truck driver or something, because of how he was towing his car. I don't know how that went. I ain't going to show it. But hey, not that much of an attitude, but maybe just a little bit. I'm sure Cody with the Gravel team might have had that Robert Baloo attitude. I don't know what happened post-race. But regardless, that's what happened there with the World of Outlaws. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. That was a very close moment. And, a lot of people are saying Gravel is a contender for the championship and he's got it sewed up. But all it really takes, guys, and Gravel, I believe, already has a 48-point lead over Schatz. But all it takes is a night like that to not keep going fashion. And that championship all of a sudden flips, This is going to be a mistake year for Gravel. I think every night is very important. I do think that gravel, even at this point, is as long as I don't get wrecked myself, which never happens, or as long as I don't get wrecked, this is going to be, I think this is the threat for David Gravel winning the championship this year. And I don't think it's going to be Buddy Kofoid's all the time either. But this is the threat for a championship. Guys, lap cars, racers, Danny Dietrich getting a little bit too close and potentially changing the entire World Outlaw Championship season. I'm just saying that is what's going to make David Gravel win it or not. I don't think they're going to have a lot of performance reliability issues. Morrison, their engine package is just top-notch. Cody always has the car perfect. Todd Quiring, obviously is doing a real good job kind of general managing the whole entire situation. So I don't see anything that's going to hold them back. They're just too good right now. Can Schatz go on a string and do some amazing things? Yes, he can, but David Gravel's just too damn good. I think he has 11 top fives out of his first 13 starts. The next closest guy, I believe, is Selzy at 8. So, I mean, he's just too good. It's going to be situations like this to where it don't just end up going straight. That's either going to determine if Gravel wins the championship or not. Or Macedo getting on a string, Schatz getting on a string. You see Selzy's being a little bit more aggressive this year. I believe he's sitting third in points right now, 72 behind. That's going to be the thing with Gravel. Obviously needs to stay aggressive enough to contend for wins and run well. But I feel like there's going to be a lot of points this year with guys like Kofoid and Baylog even, who's a little bit of an aggressive driver and fast, and Selzy, who seems to have a little heightened aggression. Those guys are on the track. And if you get in a point where you're racing for second or third like you just was, those guys are willing to push the issue a little bit. And I think that's what could make the difference. But don't count Schatz out. I'm still saying don't count Schatz out. I mean, I would count that paint scheme out. But as far as performance, Schatz could start doing Schatz things. But at this point, it does look like David Gravel is the guy to beat. We do have other regional news that happened. This is a picture from Jacksonville Speedway. This is Brandon Shepard. Yes, the late model driver, Brandon Shepard, the B5, the former Rocket 1, who's not the Rocket 1, who the new deal got taken, who the deal then took and then got taken for the... anyway, this is Brandon Shepard hot lapping the Jake Newman, his own house car. The car that Brandon Shepard will be running at Jacksonville on May 1st will be a team car of Jake Newman. So it looks like everybody in this camp, even their amazing crew chief, is doing as much as they can. But Brandon Shepard getting on the throttle a little bit here, and it's not a late model. It ain't going to pull the left rear up in the air when you get on the throttle. It's going to pull the front end up in the air when you get on the throttle. Brandon Shepard on this test day looked like he had a lot of fun. And I think this could influence some more late model guys to try it, especially on these shorter tracks. But when you see images like this, it may scare them away. Late model guys are used to being in this big box of protection, a chassis, of fenders, nothing scary's happening. Most of the time, all fours are on the ground. And when they see a picture of one of the best guys out of late models in this little scary sprint car thing that everyone's afraid of, it goes so super fast and wheels up in the air too, this may scare some of those late model guys from even attempting to do this. So it's a double-edged sword. Do they want to have fun? Because it looks like he's having a hell of a time. I'm sure he's smiling right now. But for those other guys who are intimidated by the monster, the beast, the amazing F1 racing machine of dirt known as a sprint car, this is intimidating. This is scary. I mean, some of the late model guys would cry if they were in this scenario. Could you imagine if there was a Scott Bloomquist? He would be trying to ask for the aliens to help him in this point. But anyway, the only thing that flies with wings for Scott is his airplanes. But apparently, according to Brandon Shepard, these wings were picking the front end of the Jake Newman 3 machine off the ground at Jackson. And I'm looking forward to that. May 1st, World Outlaw event, Brandon Shepard in a 410 sprint car. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Other news, you had regional action with Port Royal. Devin Borden had a really good battle at Port Royal with Danny Dietrich, able to outduel him, pick up the win. You had Zach Rhodes. This is PA Racing action. Zach Rhodes, the premier 305 series in Pennsylvania, the Clinton County Speedway. I do believe a little short quarter mile. Zach Rhodes picking up another win. This guy is dominating the 305 racing scene over there. Anybody with a 410 racing organization, I don't know why you ain't throwing this guy into the car. I mean, I know there's some other guys, some fans, some, relatives or whatever. But if there's anybody running the 305 division right now outside of Logan Spar who deserves a chance, it's going to be this Zach Rhodes guy. I mean, he wins in a little operation there. They're doing it all on their own. That's the whole damn pit crew behind him. This guy's just kicking ass, and it's really worth paying attention to. Danny Dietrich, even though he got outdueled at Port Royal by Devin Borden, who came from 12th to 1st, by the way. Borden really put on a show there at Port Royal. He did pick up the win at BAPS Motor Speedway on Sunday in their event. Apparently, after this A-Main completed, there was like a torrential downpour that took out. I was talking to Jeremy Elliott on Messenger about this. Apparently, his cameras got taken out. I mean, there was a lot of issues post-race and pre-race, I heard. A lot of heebie-jeebie things going on at BAPS, but apparently like a high wind, lightning storm, just torrential downpour at BAPS Motor Speedway after the 410s were over. So interesting, though, that God allowed Danny Dietrich to win another race. I don't know what's wrong with God. I guess he drinks as well. And then some regional late model drama action. You can't watch late models or pay attention to late models without drama. It is drama central. This happened in the Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series. Joseph Joyner picks up the win. Scott Bloomquist did run second, so Scott's looking good again, ladies and gentlemen. All you Team Zero fans, all you want to be aliens, freaking Katy Perry, y'all love it so much. He is running second to Joseph Joyner. Surprise, surprise. Such a hard thing to do down there at Alltech. But there was drama. I don't believe it was behind the Saturday night event. I believe it was behind the Friday night event. But Mark Whitener, a local racer down there, I know some of y'all may have seen him jump off the radar sometimes with some World of Outlaw or Lucas Oil events down there. He's that number 5 car. He always wears a fluorescent orange helmet. I believe it was Friday night. He jumped the start on a restart as the leader of the race and then was DQ'd from the event for jumping the start, which, from what I was reading, and gave the lead to Joseph Joyner that then won the race. And apparently Mark Whitener and their whole crew is boycotting. That's what I saw a post today, or it may not have been from them, but it looked like that. It looked like maybe they're boycotting the series for the rest of the year, which Mark Whitener's a big racing name down there, has a lot of fans, is very fast in that whole Florida region. But the story slowly has come out that not only was it Mark Whitener jumping the start, but they attempted to penalize him in some sort of way. I'm trying to piece this together. I don't have the Hunt the Front broadcast deal. I didn't watch every single lap, but it seems like one of the crew members was upset at that call and went to a point or part of the racetrack and was upset at officials, and the officials said, "Oh, we're not taking this shit," basically, and DQ'd Mark Whitener from the event because of that crew member stepping into territory he shouldn't have been. That crew member says that they stood there watching races where he was at previous nights, all this stuff. He didn't know it was an area, but it did DQ a contender and give the win to Joseph Joyner. That's what people are saying, it looks like. But Joyner's a good driver. I don't know why people, obviously you go into the comment section and people are just hating on him. I already knew who was going to win, of course, but surprise, does Hunt the Front Series pay Hunt the Front race team? Asking, do they pay themselves? People are making fun of this thing with the Hunt the Front guys running their Hunt the Front Series and then winning races and then getting calls early or however it happened the night before with the Mark Whitener situation. I believe that was the Friday night. If it was the Saturday night, I apologize. I've been busy trying to pay attention to everything else we've been talking about for an hour. But regardless, it just doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good. I think Hunt the Front's trying to do something good here. They got some guys. They got this. They got that. But this doesn't help them, I think. I think Joseph Joyner winning, sometimes what it looks like is what it is, no matter how much the truth is behind the scenes. Sometimes what it looks like is just bad. And you don't want, Joseph Joyner to slow down and not win races. I mean, but is that what Brad Sweet's being told to do right now? I don't know. I don't think that's the case, but it's obviously helping High Limit that Brad Sweet ain't up there dominating like he did the World of Outlaws. It's giving it some validity on the drivers who are winning races, even though they may not be able to win their own races, it looked like for a second. But this is definitely not helping the Hunt the Front Series. Mark Whitener, a respectable driver in that area. It's not helping him or them for him to be upset with them and potentially boycotting. I don't know. Once again, not for a fact, but I saw that across I believe it was another YouTube video that was titled that. If that was a lie, clickbait, go to hell. But regardless, I don't think this is good for the Hunt the Front Series for, that Mark Whitener situation and then him to be winning his own races. Although what can you do? And I'm sure, Hunt the Front is seasoned enough in this content creation world. It's like I tell people all the time, you got to be willing to have 50% of your audience just hate you and disagree with you. That's just like natural when you put your face on cameras, and they've been doing it for a long time, and they're probably used to that. So they're probably like, who cares? Those who like it, like it. Those who don't, they don't. So who knows where this will all lead. But that Mark Whitener situation will be interesting to see how that develops. Other late model stuff. Yes, other late model stuff, drama. You cannot get away from it. This was with the Southern All-Star Series. Now, the Southern All-Stars and Hunt the Front, there's been drama in that in a way, just because Southern All-Stars has kind of been traditionally the touring series of that region of the country when it comes to super late models. And Hunt the Front, I believe, has taken a couple races from the All-Stars or SAS series, and they're now Hunt the Front series events. But not only for that whole region, I guess, not only Hunt the Front's issue with Mark Whitener could have potentially helped SAS. This has an issue as well. SAS has their own problem. As Dale McDowell, I'll summarize this. It says Dale McDowell won the race. Let me just put that out there right now. Dale McDowell won the race, taking the checkered. We all know who Dale McDowell is. Big name, very important name to have on a regional series if you want to bring in some fans. Here's what happened with this whole situation. Ray Cook is the winner. This is a post from Southern All-Stars yesterday at 3 p.m. Ray Cook is the winner of last night's Bill and Frank Ingram Memorial at North Georgia Speedway. Tire rule infraction from Dale McDowell disqualified him. Disqualified him, handing the win to Cook pending tire test. The rule infraction was over the limit of tires allowed for the event. The series allows 6 tires to be used per event. Officials mark 4 tires pre-qualifying, with an allowance of 2 unmarked tires to be used for the feature event. This was announced during drivers' meeting and had been a rule for over 2 years now. Officials did check prior to the feature in which our official asked about the tires. In this instance, a communication error may have occurred. Feature was ran, and again, the officials see 3 unmarked tires on the car. This resulted in a disqualification. We don't believe this was done intentionally by Shane McDowell Racing, but we have to stand by our rules when all other participants in the event abided by the rules. So there's a tire limit on the show, basically. You can only use 6 tires per night. 4 of them are marked, so there's only 2 other tires that are unmarked. They found 3 unmarked tires on the Dale McDowell 17M, I'm assuming, or Shane McDowell Racing. I saw some comments from a bunch of people. This is from Shane McDowell right here. This big, giant, looks like copy-pasted message. Said, last night, after a lot of debate and uncertainty, we've officially been disqualified. We've been officially disqualified. Before the feature, we went through tire tech. The official asked Dale if we flipped tires. Dale couldn't hear/understand what he was saying, so the official asked Dale if we changed tires, and Dale said yes. The official didn't ask which ones or how many or any other issues. The official radioed to the tower, and he cleared Dale to roll to the track. After the race, they scaled us, checked droop, and rolled us to the front stretch. While on the front stretch, they checked our tires again. Sorry, reading it is, obviously I'm not going to point out why. Checked our tires again and said we were only allowed to change 2 tires. The tire rule on their website isn't accurate, so don't read that. They post a bulletin on their Facebook page only 2 to 3 days prior to the event, which is inadequate, but anyway, trying to poke a little fun at their website or whatever. So while discussing on the front stretch about their rules, they then pull us to the infield victory lane and do pictures. They come to our truck to do the tire test. One official begins the tire test while the other official is talking to Shane about what tires we changed. They understood our explanation and how we were misconstrued, and explained that you count the 4 from earlier in the night and really can only change 2 tires. However, regardless of the rule, they admitted that their officials made a mistake in pre-race tire tech, and they couldn't DQ us because their officials dropped the ball. And if they had caught it in tire tech, they would have made us change it, and we could have raced with no further issues. Then 20 to 30 minutes later, the officials show back up and declare us DQ'd because of the 7 tires. 7 tires total used with the 3 unmarked in the main event. They informed us the same situation happened to Weiss last year, and they let him change it because it was caught in pre-race tire tech. However, their failure to properly tech pre-race tires resulted in us being cleared legal to race. After running the whole race, then they determined that they didn't catch it, and we were in the wrong. They were totally unclear on how to make this call. They changed their mind 3 times on what they were going to do. How can the pre-tech tire tech give us the okay to race and then realize they made a mistake and DQ us after the race? We are the ones taking the hit, not the officials that failed to have the knowledge on how to tech their own rule. What's the purpose of pre-race tire tech if you're not doing it right or don't know what you're doing? So how did they justify their mistake to us, you ask? Basically, it's okay for them to make a mistake, but we should know the rules better than they know how to tech. So interesting scenario. Obviously, there was a situation where they used more tires than they should, but they're also saying Weiss made the situation last year. They caught it prior to the main event. This time, they didn't catch it prior to the main event, but the team's taking the fault, taking the win away, all these things. So that's what happened in SAS. You can't get away from it. You can't get away from drama in the late model world. Is it right? Is it wrong? I mean, is it right to DQ a driver because his crew guy gets too close to the official or mad at him over a close call? I mean, that's discretionary almost. And then, is it okay to punish somebody for not punishing yourself, but they know the rules and everyone else did it, so they are responsible for knowing the rules? And even pre-race tire tech that's supposed to catch such issues or rules being broke, if they don't catch it, then it's still on you to be caught on yourself, I think. Why didn't I stop after the sprint car topics? Anyway, back to sprint car topics. Kinda. Oh, no, never mind. We can't. Lockley McHugh, the Australian #1 who backed out of the 25 ride. Yes, he's nominated to run a late model at the Australian Late Model Championship. That's going to be happening on Anzac Day, I believe the 20s of April, 26, 27 in Australia. He is nominated to run a late model, but everyone is mad in the comment section because he would have to start, based on Australian rules, he would have to start from the rear as Speedway Australia rules. Darren Kang and Robbie Farr had to when they started in late models, even with the experience they had in other divisions. So people are mad that they're just going to line up and race Lockley McHugh fair because you're supposed to go to the back due to switching going to a new class. But it is the Australian title, and apparently the track down here responds and says the Speedway Australia rule has been up to the discretion of the chief steward. The format for the Queensland title on Wednesday night is Outlaws format with qualifying, then fastest to the front of the heat race. Then the Aussie title is 2 days later, which is a new event anyways. So what they're saying is they're going to let them run the first night on the Queensland title night on a Wednesday, so that'll get that first race out of the way, so there should be no issues come Friday, Saturday, no matter how they line them up. Anyway, so that's what's happening over in Australia. The Australian #1 sprint car driver is going to be running in the Australian Late Model Championship. And then this weekend, this Saturday, Knoxville Raceway is supposed to be racing. It's estimated to be in the upper 30s for weather. People are questioning it here around the Iowa season or Iowa area on if the season's going to kick off this Saturday or not. But the Knoxville Raceway is scheduled to go green this Saturday night for their season opener. Yes. And I think that's the last of the topics. I think so. I think we made it to the end. Hour and 20 minutes of straight talking. Wow. Let's see what these comments are saying. Oh no. Who would tell Brad not to run as hard as he could? He literally owns the series. I'm just saying. It is interesting, Brad Sweet used to be this dominating 5-time World Outlaw champion, and all of a sudden he can't keep up with Jacob Allen. He can't do it. I'm just saying. How about Corey Day ripping the lip and getting the win? Yes, we talked about that. What's the difference between Hunt the Front and High Limit? Not sure. Welcome back, Chaz. Just got on. All right. DQ is way too harsh, gives too much power to the flagman. Think so. Let's see what we got in here. Willie contest. I know that was funny, right? Bruce retired from the Grove. He was the sprint car whisperer. I did not know that, so good to know. Which he is the longtime announcer at Williams Grove. A curfew eliminated it. Okay, sorry. Do we want to do call-ins? We'll give y'all one chance for call-ins. We'll give it like 20 minutes. I'm not staying on the phone all night, but if y'all want to call it in, there it is. 515-298-7691. If you want to do a call-in, we'll do a call-in to respond to all the things that have happened here in the world of motorsports. We will see what happens. Live call-in. Or we could just end it now. Let's see if we got any more comments. Welcome back, Chaz. Okay, hold on. Let's see. No super chats. Wow. No super chats. Let's see here. None at all. Wow. Who knew? It's fine. Super chats are overrated sometimes. Mark was DQ'd from a crew member being out of place, not from jumping. But the whole reason the crew member was out of place, from my understanding, is that he jumped. And so they were trying to make a call on Mark Whitener for jumping as the leader, and the crew member was upset at that, and that's why he was out of place. Let's see here. Texas just doesn't have a long short track sprint car tradition. California tracks also have trouble getting large crowds, and that state definitely has the tradition. Yeah, I mean, but still, it goes back to the root of the problem, in my opinion. It's even the same on the local level. My home track, Riverside Speedway, used to have local stars. We have Legends Night for those guys. Now they have no clue who we are. What car do you drive? Exactly. It's overall promotion of the sport. Who's responsible for that? Who is responsible? I had this debate with somebody the other day. Is Flow Racing, Dirt Vision, is World of Outlaws? Who's responsible for promoting this sport to the people? Who is that? Who is the one responsible for pushing it to new audiences? Who's going to do that? And what are they doing to do that? You know, I had the idea that Flow or Dirt Vision should be going in here to like a Buffalo Wild Wings or Hooters or one of these franchises who have restaurants across the world and dedicating one screen to Flow Sports. How about that? Not just Flow Racing, but Flow Sports. And there's an actual programming that they have to put on their screens on a weekly event or a weekly timing schedule, no matter what that is on Flow Sports in general. You can have wrestling and all this other stuff they have on throughout the week, but Friday, Saturday night, it's dedicated to the Flow Racing side of Flow Sports. Why is that? Who is responsible for promoting it to new people? That would be who is partially responsible for not being able to capitalize on the 7 million people within an hour of the greatest race car drivers and cars in the world at one of the most action-packed tracks. It's just interesting how that is okay. It is just interesting. But I guess that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody's calling in. We tried it. We'll try it. Maybe next time we'll have to get some people to call in. But anyways, thanks for tuning in to our inaugural return. Maybe tomorrow we'll do some call-ins or something. But we do have a bunch of content coming out. It's coming out here very soon. We got stuff going to be rolling out this week with Sydney from their first racing event. We got the Crawley interviews with both Landon Crawley and Tim Crawley talking about a lot of stuff. It's very interesting interview there. We got shop tours. We got all kinds of content coming out here on the channel, so be sure to subscribe to the channel. We will be doing a live here very soon. Of course, tomorrow night, Red Dirt Raceway on High Limit. That place is sold out. Hopefully, like RPM Speedway, will be sold out next year. Of course, the race at Red Dirt in the past is what sold the tickets of today. So hopefully that happens for RPM Speedway as well. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you've left a comment with what you think. If you haven't, if you didn't watch it live, leave a comment with what you think now. Like the video. Something more important than just subscribing is sharing the video around. Join the channel memberships, which is a button below as well. If you would like to do that, join the support here on a monthly basis to the Chaz, longlivethechaz.com for your merchandise, flex fit, hats, high-quality t-shirts, all over prints. We got a lot of this stuff. As the Chaz has returned from down under, it is resurrection time here in the U.S. of A. My place to plan to be this weekend, if it races, will be Knoxville Raceway. If not, it will probably be in front of a streaming service. Unfortunately, the vehicle is just in repair at this point, either in repair or replacement. What will decide which one comes first? Well, probably the one thing that decides everything: time. And only time will tell. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen.
We can ride high, we can ride low, we can ride anywhere we need to go. We can ride all night up to the morning, as long as we make the show.